welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today we're going to talk about value engineering and putting things into your designs and the things that you do that either save time, save money, or streamline your product without sacrificing quality. There's some very subtle things you can do. Sometimes they cost absolutely nothing. I'm going to take you over and show you on the bench first. You know, we were messing around with labels, equipment labels for the Hot Shot. So let's see what we did with those to streamline them a little bit. Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today we're going to talk about more value engineering. And what we're going to do today is we're trying to figure out how to put two controllers into a Hot Shot and also put one controller into a Hot Shot. I've got some artwork here that's just printed out on paper, actual size. And, you know, we've done a few things to streamline the Hot Shot. What we're doing here is we're developing a new, it's called a duplex, which is going to be a double stacked oven, but we want to put two controllers in. So fine, we put two controllers in where these black boxes are, and we've got the word duplex, we've got top oven, bottom oven, and everything's good. But in the same design, drop this guy on there. If I drop a single controller in there, I cut out the word duplex, drop in a single controller. These black boxes aren't here anymore, and I've got a standard unit. Okay, I've got one label on the shelf that covers two types of ovens. Perfect. What's next? You know, next up, we're talking about high voltage ovens, and we're prototyping some 240 volt units. And when you do the 240, if you remember, there was an overload button here in the center. Well, the 240 uses 2, so I had to put 2 in there in the in the place of where 1 was intended. So without doing a double button here in the center and wiring it up to here, we're going to incorporate the overloads into the actual lower part of the control box. They'll be actually over on the side of the control box. So we've removed them from here, and now I've got a place for serial numbers. Some of you know I've been stamping serial numbers directly onto the sheet metal of the controller box. These labels come in with that dead soft aluminum, easy to stamp, nice and flat. I don't have to try to stamp a control box, which is kind of cumbersome sometimes. So this is a perfect example of value engineering, a way to make a universal label that will work with any oven, you know, that I create. And I've only got one label on the shelf. So this is a prime example of that. And just with a little bit of thought into your products or whatever you're going to make, try to make them as universal as possible. Try to make one size fit all if you can. Multi-purpose, multifunctional, multitasking, any of that stuff. Think about it. I'm just trying to share the things that I've learned. I took some classes on value engineering, and I just thought I'd share them with you. Okay, so those are the two, to give you an idea. And here's the latest, greatest. That's without the black boxes. And you notice too, it gives me a place to stamp in my volts, my watts, and my serial number, all in one spot. And I'm doing flat work. I'm not trying to stamp into a box, or the enclosure, which is cumbersome and time consuming. So that's actually going to save time. And you know, the person I work with, his name's James Harrell over at James Harrell Design, and he can do spec work like this based on actual dimensions. You know, we've got specific spacing. We have constraints, you know, for the attachment screws and the rivets and things like that. And he can work all this stuff out dimensionally as well as graphically, and brings them together in perfect harmony. All right, but I thought I'd show you how things are progressing. Okay, so with the help of James Harrell and kind of rearranging the equipment tag a little bit, I now have a tag that works for two different ovens. We did relocate, as I mentioned, we relocated the overload buttons over to the side. That saves on wiring, and I can wire everything on the bench before it gets installed on the oven. So that's great, and you know, I had to order anyway, so I might as well get my equipment tags more universal. Here's another example. I've got on the control box on the Hotshot, I have, some of you may know, I've got a control panel from a side view that kind of looks like this. And then there's a flange that goes around it that gets bolted to the oven, and I put screws in it around the perimeter. Now, what I'm doing is I'm stacking the cooling fan right out of the back, right here. Put a cooling fan on it. Well, when I did that, I just blocked one of my attachment screws here. You know, we've got little flanges all the way around this thing where these things bolt on. I just blocked one screw. So what I have to do in the order of assembly, I have to put the control box on the oven and then install the fan, which is cumbersome. It's not easy. So very, very simply, that one little screw, all I did was move it. I moved it up about an inch. And now I can get to that screw with this fan already installed. Now what does that enable me to do? That enables me to do all my work on the bench, install my fan, pre-wire my fan, and have a complete assembly on the bench before it gets put on the oven. And all that just because I moved a screw 1 inch. And how much did that cost me? Nothing. Cost me nothing. I had to change a drawing. So put value into your jobs, and you'll see an improvement on your assembly times and make things easier and more universal. So adding value, whether it be value for the customer, making a better product, or value to yourself for ease of assembly and making things streamlined. All right, let's go take a look around the shop and see some other examples of value engineering that maybe other companies do. It's all around you. Just open your eyes and look around and you'll see examples of it everywhere. Okay, if you see here that we've got voltmeter optional and ammeter optional, and Bruce Witham's flag that he sticks all over my shop every time he shows up. And you know, they've even got spots here for on off. So again, they've got universal labels that fit all their machines. And if they need to drop in a voltmeter, they just unbolt that faceplate and drop it in. So one label on the shelf, and it's universal. You know, they're not stuck ordering two things or being worried about running out of one thing and not having another thing. But you know, that's a prime example of value engineering right there by Miller. Another prime example with your tools. This is a 3-jaw puller, but if you notice, it's got an extra ear sticking out. It can be converted easily to a 2-jaw. Perfect example of value engineering. Someone thought about it and said, hey, you know, why don't we make this puller be 2-jaw and 3-jaw all at once? They weren't always like that. Some genius thought of it and made it happen. Here's another example of value engineering. This is the nut off of a DeWalt grinder. You see on one side it's got a recess, on the other side it's got a shoulder. There are times with like a hard disk where you have to install this way. There are other times with like a cutoff wheel that you have to install this way. Now I remember the old grinders used to have 2 different types of capture nuts. Not the case anymore. Somebody thought of this and said, why can't we make one nut do the same thing? Perfect example. They increase their productivity. They decrease the parts they have on the shelf. Perfect example of value engineering. Here's another real good example of it by our friends at Noga. Now these all have the same shank, same extendable quick release and everything, but every single one of these handles is identical. So they got one handle on the shelf, and all they do is drop a shank in of whatever type of tool they want. They don't have purpose-built handles for it, and it incorporates the telescoping setup. And you know, I could pull that shank out of that one and put it into that one. It just doesn't matter. So one handle on the shelf, it's one size fits all. Perfect. So there you have it, guys. Quick trip around the shop. We found all kinds of examples of value engineering. Things that add value to the manufacturer, make things easier to make assembly times cut down, cut parts you have on the shelf, and also it adds value a lot of times to the customer. Make something work better by simplifying it, by having less parts. less parts that the customer has to keep on their shelf as, you know, renewables or consumables. But there's all kinds of examples of it. Just look around. The world is full of it. All right. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little kind of rant, but I'm trying to change your way of thinking. Thanks for watching.